Time for that Tuesday night delight. Welcome to the Wrestling Geek After Show as we talk about NXT today on July 9th, 2024. I'm Flobo Boyce, and the person actually reading my book is my co-host, George Hermoza. George, what's going on, man?
Wait, hold on. Really? Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's it. Yeah. That. If you want to see all of my L's
Wow.
in adult form, check out Graduation Day wherever Amazon books are sold.
Oh my God. Cookies and beer and American for now. Where can I find those?
Those are my comedy specials. You can find those on Spotify and Apple, but no one's ever downloaded those. It's fine.
No one until now.
Until now, because the Wrestling Inc. Nation goes all over the world. Thank you so much for piling in as we break down the best of Tuesday night. Yes, again, Graduation Day from Amazon. We have a chance. Just look for my name, Flobo Boyce. It's a long story where the F dot is there. If you want to see advice I would give to anyone who is graduating college at this time. All right, man. George, how's it going, man? It's been a long time since we got together. I mean, you had the Iron Man run last week, and I acknowledge you. What's going on with you?
Just, still waving my hands from side to side like I was.
Why?
Hip hop hooray.
Right.
Yes, I'm doing it. Yes, it's always a pleasure to be on. We go back probably, 5 years or so, 5-6 years.
About that, yeah.
So it's kind of always delighted when I see a nice friendly face, especially expanding from where we started from. So started from like the medium, and now we're here.
Can we mention the old employer? Is that considered like
yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to AfterBuzz TV.
Especially because there's some people that sometimes they'll chime in on the chat and be like, "Hey man, the old AfterBuzz crew reunion. I think we did right. Didn't me, you, and Jack do a show not too long ago?
Yeah.
Kind of just like the old days."
Just like the old days. And of course, if you have questions or concerns in the chat, like what are they talking about? Let us know in the chat below a bit. We do have a lot to get into because NXT has some surprises, especially with the fallout of NXT Heatwave. If you haven't had a chance to go back to the NXT Heatwave after show as part of Wrestling Inc. with that guy and John Jordan, make sure you do so because it was amazing. I was blown away and I thought I'd be out of a job come Monday, but I'm still here, so that matters.
It's funny because it's just kind of going off of Heatwave, and obviously people can always go on Wrestling Inc. and see our thoughts about not just Heatwave but Money in the Bank. Clearly every SmackDown and Raw for the last decade. If anybody wants to feel nostalgic, you can always look it up there. Not just me, but obviously there are so many great hosts that are on this. But yes, we're fresh off of Heatwave. If you want to know what my thoughts were, just type in Heatwave Wrestling Inc. and you'll hear all about it.
I do because I troll it for comments. I think there's not enough comments about me on these Wrestling Inc. videos. That's why I do it. But that's not why we're here to have my ego being stroked. But we have time for all ego later on in the program. My man, George, what's going on in the world of news here at Wrestling at the News Desk?
Did you know news is an acronym?
Is it North, East, West, and South or something?
No, it's like notable events, weather, and sports.
Huh. I'll buy that. I would kill a Trivial Pursuit.
Yes, so the guess one of the big stories of today, and this is what I woke up to. Apparently, a notable name is set to join the WWE commentary team. ESPN broadcaster Joe Tessitore will accompany Corey Graves and Wade Barrett beginning this summer. I guess we're summer now, so I guess in a few weeks on SmackDown. Joe is an absolute pro. This is Triple H talking. Joe is an absolute pro with incredible energy behind the mic and is a perfect addition to our already star-studded announce team. He has been calling college football on ESPN, on ABC. He's a client of Nick Khan, so maybe that's where the connection is. But more importantly than that, and we'll talk about this right now, actually, is he is a big wrestling fan, so he knows what's going on. At first, I'm always a little skeptical because they'll bring in, and we both have covered shows that these people have been on. And
what do you mean these people, George?
I mean Mike Adamle. He's probably one of the first ones to really come over. And it was always questioned whether he was a big wrestling fan or not. And not to say that is not that is mandatory to be. I'm not too sure if Michael Cole grew up a wrestling fan, but I know he was like a legit news reporter, covering wars and everything. And I think he turned out pretty good. But names like Jimmy Smith, Adnan Virk, Adnan Virk. What are names? Kevin Patrick. By the way, and I'll be the first to say, I thought they all did a tremendous exception of Mike Adamle. But and I was a big fan of Jimmy Smith, so there is always a little skepticism when there's people kind of coming in from the outside, and especially not really going through the system. You know,
Right.
Michael Cole didn't just show up on Raw one day and say, "Hey guys, I'm the Raw announcer." He was doing the stuff backstage and getting wedgies by DX. You know, he was.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that's the way you pay your dues, but it's kind of like, nowadays it feels like NXT is the way to go to kind of groom yourself. Vic Joseph is apparently the next heir apparent, even though he was on Raw for a little bit. Now he's back on NXT. But my point is, uh, hopefully he does a good job. I don't doubt that he will, but wrestling's kind of a different beast. As great as you are in college football and calling all those things, it's not pro wrestling. Pro wrestling's a whole nother animal, and I have full faith that he's going to do really good. Shout out to Mauro Ronaldo, of course, Dylan Matthews, one of the best, to be honest with you. So I'm going to be optimistic about this one, especially when everybody's kind of vouching for him, and especially vouching him as somebody who knows what's going on in the stories and is able to kind of convey that with his voice on a weekly basis.
Yeah, you really can not just a story. That's a top of your talent, college football, boxing, and more. I guess I was talking to Jack Farmer on our text chain. I was like, man, does that mean Jack Farmer's chance is gone? Are they going to shuffle the deck with some of the other talents as well? Because, once a year, once every 18 months or so, there is that clearing of the deck with new commentary teams. It looked like he's going over to SmackDown, but Raw can get a refresh, or a level up can get a refresh. NXT. I wonder where everyone's going to land. And if you're someone like Byron Saxton, do you just go, oh, what about me? I'm Byron.
I mean, and especially because it seems like for the last, let's say, year and a half or so, it's been two backstage announcers on Raw and two backstage announcers on SmackDown. We had Kathy Kelly and
Jackie
Redmond on Raw, and then we had Byron Saxton and Kayla Braxton on SmackDown. Exit Kayla. Now you got to wonder, is there going to be a spot there is a spot that's opened up if they're still going to go with a 2-2? So are they going to bring up somebody from NXT? Or are they going to bring on somebody that maybe we haven't seen before? I know there's a broadcasting duo on Level Up. I want to say, I know his real name is like Blake Chadwick.
Blake Howard.
Blake Howard, yeah, and I know he's did a lot of cool stuff out here on the West Coast and in Oregon and Vegas that a lot of people say very highly things of. But again, going back to the ESPN announcer, and he's got a great voice too. I think that's one of those things that maybe as great as you are with the words, I think the voice kind of has to be conveyed. Like, can you imagine if somebody like a Jim Ross didn't really have that, that Southern twang that we all loved, like I can't, I can't imagine him said, "Oh, good God Almighty, they killed him. Oh my God, he is broken in half." Like you got to have a little something in addition to being able to tell that story. So again, they haven't set an exact date on when he's starting, but either way, I'm looking very much forward to his debut and seeing how they're going to do as a 3-man team with Graves and Wade Barrett.
Oh man, I'm not sure if anyone feels about that, but I can't speculate. What else is going on, my man? Tell me what's going on.
What else is going on? Big update on WWE contract status of NXT star Damon Kemp.
Yeah, he's dead.
Apparently, we'll talk about it in a second. Bobby Steveson. Was it 2001, right? That was the Olympics. It wasn't 2020. No, I'm sorry. 2021, when they postponed the Olympics because of COVID. The big guy coming out of it that everybody thought was going to be a big deal was Gabe Steveson. By the way, I always thought it was funny how everybody thought it was Gabe Stevenson.
I thought so too.
There's no end. There's no end there.
There is definitely a Mandela effect in there. Very, very Bears team Bears.
Yeah. And especially, I want to say, didn't he just make an appearance like right after that at like the SummerSlam 2021, like right after he won that gold medal?
He was pulled out there, and he looked totally not interested in wrestling at the time.
Yeah, and they had him come out for WrestleMania, doing the thing with like Alpha Academy, if anybody remembers that. But yeah, there were high hopes. It feels like Kurt Angle, and we're not talking about him actually, but it feels like Kurt Angle kind of set the bar pretty freaking high, to be honest with you, to the point where now, even remember when Rulon Gardner won the gold medal in the year 2000, everybody's like, oh, now he's going to be a pro wrestler just because Kurt Angle was and he won a gold medal. It doesn't really exactly work that way. But with that said, they signed Gabe Stevenson's brother, I said Stevenson. Gabe Stevenson's brother.
Wait a minute, swerve.
Yeah, they sent his brother, and they brought him in as Damon Kemp. They never really acknowledged anything on camera in terms of that's his brother. So they just kind of had him do some things. Joined the no quarter catch crew. Say that 11 times fast. And apparently he yesterday he took to Twitter and he said, as of today, I am no longer under contract with the WWE. Forever grateful for the people I met and the experiences I've had. For business inquiries Damon Kemp management at gmail.com. It's interesting that he's keeping his WWE name and not his real
really
name
nowadays, because if you change your names on socials, like you lose the check mark. So I would
but
totally
I
be
mean,
Damon Kemp until get the
yeah.
cease and desist.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting because I kind of didn't really see any kind of reports coming out of that maybe his contract expired. They didn't really say exactly how or why he's not there anymore. They, again, maybe we'll get more news coming up, whether the contract expired or maybe declined to renew. Maybe he put in his was it, I guess, 2 weeks notice. I don't know if that's a thing in WWE. Not sure if they gave him the 90-day or I guess 30 days in NXT. I'm sure we'll get more answers in the next coming days. But yeah, Damon Kemp no longer part of No Quarter Catch crew, which means no longer part of the NXT roster.
Interesting take there, because I like Damon Kemp. He kind of found a way for himself. At first, when Gable Steveson, I'm doing it too, was not on TV, I thought, well, it's not long for this world. Like he survived that storm, and then this came out of seemingly nowhere in a very busy week of wrestling. So I'm hoping that is a bit of a silver lining for the guy, where he may land.
I mean, we'll see if he ends up becoming elite anytime soon. That'd be kind of interesting. I mean, they had never been afraid to pick up a couple guys. Remember when they killed off the guy from the D'Angelo family? Then he shows up on NXT about 30 days later. Not NXT, I'm sorry, AEW. I know he's hurt right now, so that's probably why we haven't seen him on TV for a while. But yeah, Damon Kemp going to be a free agent very, very soon.
Roster things are moving fast in NXT, and we'll get to a lot of those. But what else is going on in the news, my man?
What else? And just because it happened on NXT, and he's a main roster guy, but it happened last week on NXT. Tyler Bate, apparently, there's no apparently anymore, dealing with an injury following a tag team match on WWE NXT last week during a match with Hank Waller and Tank Ledger, Hank and Tank. He apparently tore his something with his left arm. His arm felt funny. He tweeted today that I should have this news up, but I saw like a picture of him with like in a sling in the hospital bed. Was it a left rotator cuff? I think it was.
I was thinking more towards like the pectoral, but any shoulder injury are pretty much going to be on the shelf for weeks upon end.
Yeah, it's been Tyler Bate has revealed that he recently underwent surgery to repair a torn left pectoral major and tendon. He tore it off the bone last week. Surgery was successful. He said, hopefully I'll be back soon. Apparently, Google says he might be out around 6 to 8 months.
That's about right. Yeah, poor guy, man. Tyler Bate. Even though yesterday I didn't know the extent of the injury, yesterday, on the Monday Night Raw after show, I was kind of like, man, No Quarter Catch crew needs something, but you don't really want a guy to be injured. A step back is not good for them, but hopefully a quick recovery. Because I think
you mean New Catch Republic?
Yes, New Catch Republic. Yeah, because basically Pete Dunne came out like it didn't even exist.
They mentioned Tyler Bate and his injury, not to what extent last night, but I kind of figured because they were really, really building Tyler Bate as a single star, just kind of randomly out of nowhere. And I figured he was going to be out for a while because now they're doing this thing with Sheamus. So I was like, oh, I know that. Unfortunate, obviously, for Tyler Bate, a big, strong boy. Can't wait to see him back at 100%.
Oh, yeah, of course. And then speaking of people in the chat, got to give it up to Jack Farmer, some guy who's even coming in on his day off like a loser. Nah, I'm just kidding. Thanks for coming out, Jack. Appreciate you. Make sure to check him out tomorrow on the AEW Dynamite after show alongside this guy, George Hermoza, and the future Hall of Famer, Jimmy Corderas.
And maybe we'll have Eugene join us too.
Eugene? Oh, Nick Dinsmore. I was like, we got new characters coming all the time.
That's funny. And then we have one more piece of news, but I guess we can wait until the end of the show because it was regarding somebody who we all believe in. And I'll just leave it at that.
I believe in you, though. Was it you?
Yes.
Nice. Let's talk about what's happened on NXT this week because it is depending on who you ask, the era of ego or the ego era. Get it together, NXT. Ethan Page comes out to say he did the impossible and or improbable. He is your new NXT champ. But of course, we had a lot of players here who has something to say about that, especially Ora Mensa. So before we get into what happened after that, you got Ethan Page. Thoughts about the win, thoughts about what it means for the landscape of NXT, and his address tonight to the NXT universe.
Well, I figured coming out of the show, especially Heatwave, considering that Trick Williams never was pinned, I thought we were going to see a rematch sometime soon, and they kind of teased it for a little bit in the beginning, in the opening segment. But again, once we finish that show, the whole landscape has changed, and we have some new names to bring up in terms of who the next challenger is going to be, and it should be very,
Bring
very
him up
fun.
now, George. Don't tease. Don't be
No,
like a Jack
we
Farmer.
have to go in order.
Man, one of the dark rules of week. All right,
This isn't a Tarantino after show. We're gonna
That's
go in
not how
order.
I remember.
But yeah, but either way, I thought it was a good segment. I'm really liking Ethan Page on the mic. I think he really can hold his own. I think he's great. I think he's really easy to dislike with the words that he says. No, he's got one of those like, and I mean this in the best possible way. He's got really one of those like punchable faces because he does it on purpose. Like he knows how to. And it's funny. Like I was reading an interview or maybe saw an interview with Adam Pearce.
Yeah.
And Adam Pearce, he was saying on those long trips, the long car rides, going making the towns, is he would look in his rear view mirror and he would just practice making faces, to show the emotion, whatever people use to sell. But I feel like Ethan Page has got it down as well. I think he can flip the switch at any given point. And I don't blame the NXT management for putting their faith in Ethan Page because he is somebody that is going to be a big, big deal coming up soon.
Yeah, and his theme song's an earworm. I'm in the mirror going, here you go. I'm just like
It's all
flexing and stuff. I
It's
mean,
all
it's not the greatest, but at least it sounds like something specifically for him, which
Yeah.
is my biggest problem I had with the theme songs, to be honest.
See, I always think I am just going off tangent. I always had a theory especially in the 80s when you had theme songs. If you close your eyes and you play it for like a non-wrestler, they should be able to name the characteristics of who the theme song is for.
You're asking for a
And
lot.
yeah, but I feel like for example, like you close your eyes, you think of like the Ravishing Rick Rude theme song. It just sounds like meant for like a sleazy stripper, and that was his character. You think of the Rick Martel, the arrogance, and he had a theme song that fit his character. And I feel like that's what we're missing a lot these days. So I do like that you brought up the Ethan Page's theme song because it fits him. It fits his character, and I dig that.
Ego. Thoughts about this Ora Mensa thing? I mean, it does pay off again later on in the episode, but he is chasing off Ethan Page. He's not somebody that is in the main event picture per se, but with Noam Dar on the shelf, the main man's going after his own pound of flesh.
Yeah, I like the consistency of this. He said something and he's following through. That's all what it comes down to. And I think about like CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Like unless they have some kind of like no like physical like clause and whatever match they end up announcing, like there's no reason why those two should be in the same building without laying hands on each other. And I'm hoping for that, but we're seeing that now with Oro Mensa. Like he said something and he's following through. Ethan Page, if I see you, I'm going to want to beat you down. And that's what we're seeing on a weekly basis.
Hey, and people who say things and do it. That's called integrity. I like that. Let's talk about the first match of the evening. In fact, a couple days ago at Heatwave, this one made history according to referee Adrian Butler. We didn't have two Toronto opponents officiated by a Toronto referee in Toronto from this match, but the fallout is the same. Tag team partners no more. Carmen Petrovic takes on Ariana Grace. And, well, even though Ariana has all that talk about being a lady, she was the one on the losing end tonight. But there was somebody waiting in the wings to see how everything turned out. And that was a budding friendship between Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix. George, a lot of things happen here. But two things. One, I love Canada. See that chat? I love it. And two, what's going on with this faction in the background?
It seems like the trio is kind of the way to go. We saw it on Raw. We saw it 12 years ago with the Shield. we saw 12 years ago or 13 years ago or 11 years ago with 3MB. It just feels like, the three-way is the way to go, right? With that said, yeah, I mean, I dig it. I like things with a purpose. First off, I thought the match was good. I have no I think Ariana Grace has got the brightest future in all of NXT, of all of the NXT women's wrestlers. Carmen Petrovich obviously can go as well. Their match on Sunday was everything it needed to be. But yeah, I mean, I'm digging this. I'm digging this kind of this new partnership, I guess you can say, between JC Jane, Jasmine Nix, and Fallon Henley.
Well,
I always get Fallon Henley and Tatum Paxley confused.
Wait, hold
because
on.
they end in that. Because the names sound similar.
So the farmhand and the one that talks to herself just confused.
Yeah, the name Tatum Paxley Fallon Henley. Tatum Henley Fallon Paxley.
Fallon Paxley sounds like a random wrestling generator, and you know it. But I will say Izzy Dame is a weird name, but we'll get to that as well. Yeah, I like the idea of budding factions, but I wonder if this is going to be part of the problem we had in the main roster. It seems like everyone's in a group. It's always prison rules, and it just means more bodies are just getting TV time with no consequence. But maybe I'm just poo-pooing before the parade even starts. Who knows?
As long as it leads up to the reunion of Toxic Attraction.
Toxic? No, you think that Mandy Rose coming back?
I think she will be back in 2025.
Why 2025?
Just want to finish up the year with whatever she's doing. And then,
what is she doing? I guess she has a podcast and the modeling things and whatnot. But yeah, looks like your girl, Ariana Grace, man. I know you're a big fan of hers. Can't get a win. Sucks.
That's okay. She's very reminiscent like a Chelsea Green, where she very captures every single second that she's on TV and make sure she, making sure every single second that she's on TV matters. And that's what I love about Ariana Grace. One of many things, actually.
Can we talk about maximizing TV time? Because it looks like Brooke Jensen was going through something. So much for that last week. Shawn Michaels was like, we're going to sit down with the guy and have this intervention. The conversation was pretty light and breezy. Ava's like, I wanted to release you. Brooks is like, I'm sorry. I'll be better at stuff. And look at everything was fine. And he got a second chance. Now, why is Ava listening to other people giving this guy a second chance if he's out there causing havoc for weeks upon weeks on end? I'll never know. But Brooks Jensen is still on the roster as of this week.
Well, I mean, apparently Josh Briggs put in a good word for him. They're boys from way back, back in the 2.0 days, right. If anybody remembers those days. Yeah, I mean,
I do.
I mean, I'd like to think that if any of us were in that same situation, we'd have a buddy that would do the same for us.
Me, or just anyone in general? Because
sure.
I'm a
sure.
natural.
Maybe you. Maybe it looks like I'm on the way out, and maybe you nudge management. Maybe you nudge management. I'm like, hey man, why don't you give him another shot?
First of all, you're doing all the after shows. You did 3 in a row. And second of all, if anyone will be out, it's me, Daddy, going out in the face of flames. And third of all, it was Josh Briggs who started this whole thing. He said, look, man, you're clinging to my success. I'm the man of mayhem now. Go find your own stuff. He does it, and then Josh Briggs comes back. Why does he care?
I'm just waiting for him at some point to come out the journey again.
No. The kids.
That was just a one-time thing?
No, he was doing that on the NXT circuit as like a
lab thing. So I need it to be now on the NXT TV circuit.
Nope, no, you don't. No, you don't. There's certain.
That's a great theme song to come out to.
Listen, they're okay. There are nostalgia acts and there are classic acts that gets passed down the generation to generation. Journey is definitely a road trip band, and unfortunately, as a DJ, I played it way too many times. I'm sorry, I'm here in Los Angeles. But the thing is, there's some bands that don't translate generationally. There are no kids who are theoretically watching NXT being like, rocks, Journey, Eagles, no, Fish.
Well, what Eagles song? What's Eagles song would be a great theme song?
I gotta think about that because they broke up and they got back together. So
although, is anybody in the Indies coming out to "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins?
They should. That's a classic. But the kids don't care about that.
If nobody's doing it, then I'm going to do it.
Do you know that song is super slow pace, right?
Yeah, dude. Did you not know that? Like, that's what Ray Lewis, the football player, used to listen to before football games.
Yeah, but imagine he was coming out to the gridiron with that. That song has like a 2-minute.
I just want at some point when it's time, I go on the apron, go on the second rope, put my hand up, and the entire crowd go boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, but it
I
takes
can
2 minutes
hear
for you to
it.
get. Anyway,
Yeah.
Dylan Matthews says he
Dude,
wants
have you
Scott. I know
never
you
seen
know.
an Undertaker entrance? He takes like 7 minutes. Have you ever seen a Roman Reigns entrance? He takes like 11 minutes to get to the ring.
Okay, one guy is dead, and the other guy owns an entire tribe. Who the heck are you to be like, I need a 2-minute entrance?
I'm somebody that's going to come out to end the air tonight by Phil Collins.
That is a terrible idea. It won't draw a dime. It will not draw a dime. Speaking about DJs and drawing dimes and music, Heritage Cup action was on the line as Lexis King and Tony D'Angelo traded vertical videos over 4th of July break. Okay, Heritage Cup in NXT. I like it. Want to ask you your thoughts about the NXT Heritage Cup in NXT wholesale. But with a little element of surprise, Eddie Thorpe was doing hot tunes up in the booth in the corner. Eddie Thorpe pretty much swayed the match here this week. What do you think about that?
I want to know what you think, because I want to know of what you think of Eddie Thorpe's DJing.
So I'm torn. I think Eddie Thorpe's DJing was kind of gimmicky itself. But one of the things I think about when I talk about the Heritage Cup is because I'm a big NXT UK fan, is that it hasn't really hit on NXT Prime. I am not sure is because UK was a smaller venue or had British commentators or the British history, but I always felt something was missing. If you're going to make this Heritage Cup into some kind of like rock club, underground, Def Jam Vendetta thing, then I'm on board. That said, Eddie Thorpe, the transitions were kind of weak. Just putting it up there.
I still don't know how the Heritage Cup works.
What do you mean you don't know how it works? It's a cup. You drink out of it.
Is it 6 falls?
So
6 rounds?
Originally, it was 6 rounds, 2 falls to a victory. If you get a pinfall, that round ends. And if it's tied, there's sudden death. Now in NXT UK, there's 6 rounds, 2 falls to a finish. And if it's tied after the 6th round, then the champion retains.
So it's first to 2.
First to 2. So much like Lucha Libre, but with rounds.
But it's 6 rounds.
It's 6 rounds, first to 2 falls. If you get a pinfall in the round ends.
What a weird number. It's not even like 2 out of 3. It's like
it is 2 out of 3.
But you can go 6 rounds.
No, if you get the second fall in round 3, the match is over. You win.
But I mean, 2 out of 3 is just straight up like 3 falls.
It is 2 out of 3. It's 2 out of 3, but every 2 minutes there's a 10-second break.
Why do you need a break? Is that just like a British thing?
So in British round wrestling rules, because British wrestling
comes like a world of sport thing, right?
Yeah, it comes from like boxing, right? So there's like boxing rounds, there were wrestling rounds. But that's the thing. When it was an NXT UK, it was a secondary title. So they had more time to tell you and why that matters. Here in NXT is like, yeah, we're doing this thing. Here are the rules, screen, and go. And it feels kind of weird how they do that.
So do you think the UK think that our rules are weird?
No. I think the difference in UK is that they had time every time to make sure to tell you that counts. What we got instead, okay, on NXT UK, there is the cup on the pedestal and it's slow moving. And it goes, this was the cup that was won by A-Kid and Tyler Bate. And William Regal was a guy who did British rounds wrestling. And they really hammer it home. But this week at NXT, we basically got Tony D'Angelo and Lexis King shirtless or wearing a tank top being like, I'll see you Tuesday, bro. And it was like, well, what heritage are we defending? Can someone help me out here?
All right.
Okay. Anyway, the thoughts for the match. Okay. Got a little hot and bothered.
No, I mean that match was good. I mean, I think of the success of Lexis King on a regular basis or his potential. Sky's the limit for this guy. This guy has the potential to be anything that he wants to be. You just need to make sure that he's consistent about it, and you know, just rises to the occasion when need to. Tony D'Angelo is great. I thought he's been great since the first time he was on NXT, and everybody afterwards was tweeting the hand emoji.
Yeah, he was a breakout talent on 2.0. Shout out to Made by Dawn. George is the NXT UK thing. I watched NXT UK, enjoyed the matches. Wish that A-Kid was given time and chance to let loose.
What kid?
Kid.
There was a kid. There was a kid that was given time. But what kid is this?
It was Kid Animo. Anonimo. There we go. Kid Anonimo, or AKA A-Kid, AKA Axiom. The A means anonymous. He's anonymous kid. Okay, all right, moving on. Brooks Jensen attacks Von Evans for some reason, which will have implications later on that night. And also backstage, Thea Hale wants to be a winner, and just Rich Holland comes in and tries to upset the apple cart by giving Thea Hale a Challengers #1 Contenders match against Izzy Dame, saying Duke Hudson will be taking on Obafemi. And even though Andre Chase wants Rich to calm down, Rich has gone full coach manager. Thoughts about Holland and Chase U?
Well, first I want to say I don't see anything wrong with what Brooks Jensen did. He's doing what everyone else would do. He is doing what everyone else has done. So I don't see what the big deal is about what he did. He's just trying to get noticed. He's trying to make an impact. As you said, I thought he was like foreshadowing like him going over to like a TNA or something.
Yeah.
But it was just him like, yeah, man, like this is what everybody does. I'm doing what everybody else is doing. Isn't this the way to make a name for myself? So I honestly had no issue with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm digging the Chase U, man. Just so I can reiterate what I said on the Heatwave after show. Holy moly! Like we all know that Chase U can go, but man, am I happy that we were able to see it. Like, what a tag team match! Like, what a great match. I mean, everybody stood out. Like Duke Hudson, like I mean, everybody. I mean, maybe nobody remembers. Remember, he was on the main roster for like a hiccup.
Oh, I remember he was 6'5", Brendan Vink.
And I'm like, he was clearly somebody's favorite from the back. He looked imposing. He was big. He was tall. So I'm kind of happy that he was fine. Although, wasn't he like a blackjack dealer when 2.0 first started?
Yes, he was at first he was a ladies' man. Then it was Duke Hudson's poker room. And yeah,
but then he was going out with like Persia Parada, right? Like they were doing this like double date thing with him, Dexter and him, with Indy and Persia.
Steph DeLander, that's correct.
Yeah,
I feel like you make the Steph DeLander references every time we work together.
Do you
like,
really?
Yeah, you kind of squeeze in a Steph DeLander reference. That's kind of like.
Well, I mean, in this case, it's relevant because I'm kind of saying like how Duke Hudson has evolved in so many ways, and I mean that's a guy that has had like 9 lives. And somebody who deserves any kind of accolade that he gets. And like I said, I'm happy that he was finally able to show out on Sunday at Heatwave, and now he's gonna go up against Obafemi. Like, dude, this match is gonna be a banger.
So let's skip around here. Izzy Dame had that match against Thea Hale, and Thea Hale gets the dub, which that has North American title that has NXT Women's Championship implications. But after that, Obafemi says, look, Duke, your crew begged for a match, me against you, and I will destroy you. And Duke basically came from downtown with a promo that we didn't really think that he was capable of because he was talking to Andre and Andre alone for the past year. I'm fired about this match. I really think that Oba will retain, but I don't think it's going to be as easy peasy, fresh and squeezy as Rula thinks it's going to be.
It's going to be one of those matches where, just like we saw, I keep referencing Heatwave, just like we saw where, yes, there were winners and losers in that tag team match, but in reality, there were no losers because Andre Chase and Duke Hudson came out, their stock went at an all-time high. And I do feel like after next week, even though I predict Duke Hudson is not going to get the W, his stock is going to go even higher than what it is now.
Talk about predictions. We had a match that was Gallus against Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe. And even though I don't think people will want to wrestle in Tim's in 2024, they find a way to do it. Talk about predictions. Did you predict Gallus get the dub here?
1,000%.
Yeah.
I love their UK song. Although I think JC from NSYNC would wrestle in Timberlands. Tim's and bag and jeans, showing off his thug appeal. In fact, is that what their gimmick is? Is their gimmick JC's verse from Bring It All to Me?
No.
Are you feeling my Tim's, my bag of jeans, my thug appeal?
No.
A man that can keep it real? What is wrong with me?
I don't know. I think Tyson and Tyreek Igwe are like guys from the streets that actually love nerd stuff, right? But they wear Tim's.
Maybe that's the other. What's the other team?
OTM.
OTM.
They're different. They look similar. There's going to be a problem. They may need new characters in the future, but OTM is being about being from the hood and trying to overachieve by any means necessary with prizes and money and all that kind of things.
I got something to say about OTM when we get to there.
Oh, dang. Alicia A in the chat says they are Crime Time 2.0. Who? Let us know.
That's
Crimetown's played for comedy. I'm not sure any of these guys have played for comedy, but it's a good point.
Come on, say it with me. You know, they're going to be Crime Time 2.0 if they want to get that money. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I said
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that should be Mercedes Monet's theme, but that's
Monet. Yeah.
Okay, we gotta talk about the 9 o'clock main event, but it wasn't a main event at all. It was Wesley, man. He was like, "Look, I really thought I was gonna beat Obafemi. I saw myself as the North American champion, but maybe I should just give MSK." And I wouldn't say Nash Carter, but Zach Wentz and Trey Miguel show up. And now MSK / the Rascals are returning on NXT. The CWC has lost a collective minds. What was the first thing going through your mind when Wesley got reunited with the boys?
So the first thing that came to my mind when I saw Wesley come out, and I've been saying this for weeks. I said it on Sunday. I said it last week on Tuesday. You are the greatest North American champion that has existed in NXT, right? I think there's no argument there.
There's a huge argument there.
Okay, then who is Bronson Reed, Keith Lee, Adam Cole? Ricochet,
Adam Cole, Finn Balor, Ricochet.
Finn Balor was never the North American champion.
You're right. I even give you a guy.
Leon Ruff. Gargano would be arguable.
Gargano was another one too. You even think I'll even give you a guy we can't even mention, but he had a thing that went Velveteen Dream. All these guys are great. Wesley is a fantastic competitor. Cardiac Kid, great. We love him. But when I think of the North American Championship, I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking Carmelo Hayes beating the guy that went on to become Swerve When I Drive, or there in NXT to kick him out the building. Carmelo Hayes is argument being the best, better North American champion.
Okay, with that said, Wesley, one of the best North American champions that have existed.
10, easy.
Top 10, easy. Yeah, there's only been like 12. There's only been like 12.
I'm just putting out.
Okay, either way. Been there, done that is my point, right? Aim higher. What are you still going after the North American champion? What else do you have to accomplish to be at least like somebody like The Miz, right? Miz is a former 8-time Intercontinental champion. I would understand him going after that championship to maybe a 9th or a 10th time, a record-breaking 10th time, because one, he's already a 2-time WWE champion. Been there, done that. Now he wants to break another record. At least try to go after the NXT champion instead of being so obsessed with the North American champion. That was my first thought when I saw him like kind of come out there and it's like, oh, poor me, I'm not going to be North American champion anymore. But that all changed because once the music hit, I was like, oh my God, like it was like, wait, because like I don't want to sound critical, but like some of their theme songs, like it's not like an easily noticeable. I had to see the screen in order to see what it was first. I'm like, wait, this isn't MSK, is it? And then they saw the screen and then they both came out, both Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel. I'm like, oh my God, like this. And I've said this many, many times in the last couple of weeks. Anybody that complains about like, oh, TNA or WWE, like, dude, like get a life. This is like,
are you cutting promos right now? What are you doing?
Absolutely. Like, how do anybody complain about just how great and how much fun pro wrestling is right now? Like, this is everything good about pro wrestling. You got companies working together. You got, trios getting reunited, even though we probably thought we were never going to see them on the same screen ever again. But never say never. Like, man, when I saw that, and I know Wesley's, I don't know if his character is getting emotional, but I wouldn't be surprised if the real life, Desmond Xavier Wesley was getting emotional because that was a very emotional moment. TV reunited when everybody thought that, oh, we're never going to see Nash Carter / Zachary Wentz ever again on NXT TV or WWE TV, especially after everything that happened on when he got released.
Okay, I gotta stop you there. Because you're making an argument that everyone isn't happy with this, but you are. But it seems that the internet, I'm looking at it now, loves the fact that MSK Rascals are back.
Just give it a day.
Are we not fickle?
Okay. Let me say this. You're 1,000% right because everybody that's being critical about it, their opinions don't matter, and I say that as cynical as possible because we both know there's a lot of people on Twitter who just hate just for the sake of hating, and those people are not real. Those people are phonies because more often than not, those people that clown on WWE for anything probably have the same accounts as people that clown on anything AEW. So you're 1,000% right.
Do you have haters in these streets, Jordan? Why are you so angry?
I'm not angry. I'm just saying, like, there's nothing to hate about this. Is my point. I think right. This what we see is everything right about pro wrestling, and this I loved everything about this segment.
Okay, so
That was my point.
I understand, and I think that to answer your original question, I was trying to look it up on the history because I know he had the title. I wasn't sure if he vacated it because Dominic had the title right after him, so I'm not sure if it was a vacated situation. But he was injured for a long time, so I understand the drive of going for it. It wasn't like he was feuding with Opa Femi for months. This was his first match in that division, so I get all of that. And the Rascals, which they have said that it's the Rascals if it's all three of them, and it's going to be just MSK if it's two of them. Sounds like a copyright intellectual property thing. Not here to argue about that. That's all great. But how cool is that? Because MSK really was one of those pandemic teams that came out of nowhere and blazed. I didn't like the Shaman stuff, didn't like the whole Matt Riddle stuff, but they were really good. And the fact that we're getting that in this TNA curse unallowed door forbidden window thing is pretty sick.
What's even sicker, there's an even a bigger rumor now that WWE might get this tag team that everybody thought was going to be in AEW. It's just rumors. I have seen nothing confirmed. I have just been seeing rumors that the Motor City Machine Guns are WWE bound. And if that's the case, if they go to NXT, WWE, it's going to be a win-win for any brand that that they're on.
This is a very deep cut, but the fact that the Time Splitters were only on for like 8 days really ticked me off.
Yeah, just one time on a Dusty Classic, and now Kushida. I mean, although Kushida's in TNA, who's to say that we're not going to see maybe the Time Splitters on the next year's Dusty Classic?
Wrestling Inc. faithful. I love Kushida. He's one of my favorites. But for some reason, when I tell Kushida in the presence of Jack Farmer, he makes all the time traveling puns. So you can do me a favor. Just direct message him and say, hey, Jack, you're lame. That makes me feel so much better. Say, Flobo said you're lame for making these jokes.
Yes, 1000%. I mean, this is one of those segments where I can watch on a regular basis, just over and over again. Everything about the segment, the emotion, the hugs, this was just so cool. Like, this is everything, right? This is what, like, we both love pro wrestling, but this was a segment where I can reiterate once again how much I love pro wrestling, and just these moments that we see that will last the test of time.
Oh, well, think about something that would totally be something I like to see in wrestling. Gang warfare. OTM, OC, Jada Parker, Meat Chin. It was a drag-out battle. But guess what? OTM gets the dub? George, you're the OC. You go down to NXT if it's going to be a vacation, and you get mollywopped by a group that's out the mud. Talk to me.
So the thing I wanted to say about OTM, and I kind of goes to say the same about Jada Parker. Their theme song is a jam. Like, I will bump that theme song all day. Like, that is just a certified banger. Put it on iTunes. Watch it be #1 very soon.
That is my creator wrestler theme for the female division in Unleashed this year.
With that said, and by the way, love me some Jada Parker. I think she is going to be such a huge star that's going to be draped in gold very, very soon.
Oh, I love it. DrapedInGold.com.
With that said, if you're going to get in there with a team, there is no better team to be in there with than the OC. Like, and if you're going to get a victory over a team, like, oh man, like this was great. This was a fun match. But like I said, like the OC, like, yeah, I mean, like, they've been around the block a couple times, but given to the young guys, dude, I'm all for it. Like I said, there's no team better to learn from than these two guys.
I'm with you 100%. I do think Jada Parker is a breakout talent. I do think that she's going to be on the production cups and production trucks and all the souvenir cups, and I think she has an attitude that I don't want to. Oh, I love the little I don't want to rush her to the main roster, even though I think character-wise she is ready for it. But she has a look that no one else does, which is it's worth its weight in gold on a roster that has about 200 competitors, and at AEW it has like 150 more. That said, the OC is there for a reason, but they haven't been a credible threat in almost 2 years. Every time there's been a drawn-out feud, whether it's the Bloodline, whether it was other tag teams, they seem to be the ones getting some losses. And that happens in wrestling. But the question I have for you is this. Is OTM beating OC, even if it's an upset, really going to help them in the long run?
So I'm going to say yes and no. I think it's yes going to help him in the long run. I don't think it's going to help him now because I do think, and I've said this many times, I do think if there's one thing that NXT needs help with, it's their tag team division. I think they've been lacking. I think they really lost a lot of steam. The division itself, when let's say like Pretty Deadly got called up, uh, I- so I feel like there needs to be more like a solid foundation of the tag team division. That way OTM has something to build upon. Right now they're beating the OC, but what does that mean? That means nothing. Maybe in the long run they can mention, hey man, remember when we beat the OC, one of the most highly acclaimed, highly accomplished tag teams in the entire world? But for now, I don't think it's really going to mean much because the division itself needs work.
Talked about it earlier today, but Damon Kemp is dead. He did some things, probably not going to get a funeral. Looks like no quarter catch crew needed the Angelo family this time. They just killed him outright. How are they getting away with this in the parking lot?
I don't know. Ren Sinclair was there to kind of see it all. So who knows what wrinkle that's going to throw into their little, criminal activities.
You think she's probably getting drafted, right? I would think so.
Maybe.
The evil chase you, right?
I don't know. I'm not buying no quarter catch crew. It's that's to me, and unfortunately, I hate saying this, but I think that's one of the weak parts of NXT.
That's the weak part of NXT is no quarter catch crew. Why
Yeah.
so, George? Tell me.
One Charlie Dempsey desperately needs a haircut. He's rocking that Harry Dunn from Dumb and Dumber haircut, and that mostly is it.
Wait. You're saying a faction is not going to work because one dude is growing out his hair. Is that what you're saying?
1000%. He needs a hair. He needs like a buzz cut. Or put it up in a man bun or something. It worked for Roman Reigns.
They did it with Karrion Kross. You hated that.
Well, have you seen Karrion Kross with the bald head and a goatee? You're going to tell me that he looks better now than he did back then?
What are the rules, George? I don't even know. You tell me.
The rule is if you look more imposing with a bald head and a goatee, you do that. With Charlie Dempsey, just don't look like Jim Carrey's friend from Dumb and Dumber.
Well, I don't know what No Quarter Catch Crew is, so I'll give you that because it looked like they were going to do this whole diamond mine, like catch as catch can, Alpha Academy wrestling school thing. But now they're getting to petty crimes and syndicates, but they work with the mafia or Tony D'Angelo's family, and now they're not. I don't know what their objective is, but it is kind of messed up that Tavion Heist has showed up, and we're just probably to assume that he's going to be filling in the role of Damon Kemp now.
Well, it just yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there are some things that happened with that faction that maybe is outside of the control that caused it to be a little, wonky. Certain people getting released, or maybe I guess their contracts not getting renewed. And that's when I thought it was getting some steam. So you eliminate that part of it, and now it's lost steam. Now you eliminate Damon Kemp, who by all means, like I thought he was a solid wrestler, and now he just kind of disappears out of nowhere. There was really no like storyline even to it. Like, right, there was no like they just kind of mentioned like, oh well, you were doing that good, so we're gonna bury you now in the trunk of a car and drive it off a cliff.
Kind of cheated. Last question about the roster shifts before we get to our main event. After this, we saw the warring assistant general managers sign two talents, Cedric Alexander and Ashanti The Adonis. These two gentlemen were tagging in the dark mat circuit. Stevie Turner and Mr. Stone are trying to get Ava's favor. What do you make of this? The signing of the two talents in Cedric and Ashanti, the battle, I guess, between Mr. Stone and Stevie Turner, and Ava being caught in the middle.
So I dig it. Unfortunately, we're not really sure how good someone like Ashanti the Adonis can be. I'm sure he can be good. I'm just saying we haven't seen it. As opposed to Cedric Alexander, Cruiserweight Classic, his match with Kota Ibushi, my God. He was a mainstay in the cruiserweight division. So we all know
5 years ago. I mean, I'm not trying to knock Cedric Alexander.
No. But my point is, like, we all know how good he can be. We all know who's amazing. I mean, Hurt Business, they're making a lot of news right now because Shelton Benjamin just had an interview and talking about how like they don't really know why the Hurt Business just kind of disintegrated. Especially maybe they were building up maybe them versus the Bloodline. With that said, we all know what Cedric can do. So I'm happy that at least they're getting a shot, because we all know how easily they can just say, all right, we're going to release you guys. We're going to, creators got nothing for you. So at least there's that. At least they still have a job. At least they're going to be able to showcase their skills in so many ways in front of a passionate crowd. And if even that gets over, then, with eyes, there are going to be more eyes on them when they debut for the CW. So I'm digging this move. I'm digging their doing. So I wish they would have had some kind of chance or an opportunity to see what they can do on the main roster as a tag team, because we really saw nothing. We saw 2 vignettes. We saw them in the crowd, a month ago or so together,
Right.
and then that's it. So again, I just would have liked to have seen what they can do first. But either way, they're still there. We're still going to be able to see, their talent, and that's always a good thing.
I didn't want to single you out for this, but this is something a lot of wrestling fans do. With someone who is very talented and doesn't get TV time, goes, oh man, this guy can really go. But I have to argue that it doesn't matter if you can go if you're not on TV. What have you done for me lately? Cedric Alexander, I'm not trying to say he's not good at what he does, but he hasn't been featured in years. And Shante Diadonis, I don't think people even realize that he is also Tahuti Miles. And now they're going to be in NXT. So clean slate city. Question is, tag team in NXT, would you have them run separately, heel, face? What would you do?
It looks like they're going to be separate because they when Cedric was leaving, it looked like that meeting was ending, but it looks like Ashante's meeting was just beginning. So it looks like they went their separate ways. Yeah, I'd probably have Cedric as a babyface. My only thing is, and I say this about AEW all the time, is there are a bunch of great wrestlers. Nobody can deny just how good some of these wrestlers are. But now show me what makes you unique. Because Cedric is a great wrestler. So is Wesley. So is Charlie Dempsey. So is, Eddie Thorpe. But what makes you guys unique? And I want to see Cedric develop some kind of anything that makes him stand out aside from everyone else that is just as good in the ring.
Well, I think unique is a very important question to ask. And if you say things like that, guys like Charlie Dempsey are the first to go, because you can't be unique by being a tough fighter.
But at least they're in the right place to try new things.
Yeah, so you can only ask for.
Yeah.
Kind of wish it was the fourth brand if I'm being greedy. Let's talk about a main event. Nothing happened. All right, goodbye, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. Right. It is. So Javon Evans was too dang injured to compete. And that left Trick Williams without a partner, but he was okay with going to a handicap match as All Eagle Ethan Page tag teams with Sean Spears, Team Canada, if you will. But the music dropped. We all believe in Joe Hendry. George!
I have one critique, and I swear, it's not even a bad one. Want to know, and it's so like, tell me I'm crazy. Just, it's okay. I won't get offended.
You ruined my handoff, George, so you're crazy. What do you want?
I feel like there were too many teases.
Of what? Joe Hendry?
Of Joe Hendry. They had the commercials. They had the end of Heatwave. They had Robert Stone saying something. They had Vic Joseph saying, like, there were just way too many teases of like what was going to come. And I just would have liked a little bit less. I don't mind the teases. I just feel like there was too much.
I disagree. I disagree on the Joe Hendry teases, and the only way I can prove my point is to compare it to AEW. So please bear with me. I'm not a tribalist. I don't say one or the other. Please don't come after me, guys. But one of my biggest criticisms of AEW, because I'm a man of a certain age, is I'm not up at 2:00 in the morning to watch New Japan. When someone shows up and Excalibur's like, oh my gosh, it's that guy who wrestled that time in that dome, and I go, who? Why? Who should I give a crap about? Now, if I know nothing about Joe Hendry, I'm going to ask, why is this guy smiling at the end of a PLE? If I don't know anything about Joe Hendry, why is everyone saying believe? I know. I'll look at the Google machine. Bam! And that puts us in the idea of knowing who he is without getting a full-on vignette and still keeping the indie small band kind of feel Joe Hendry is because of his intro.
So I'm okay with the end of Heatwave, right? So you're okay with all the commercials on Raw that feature Joe Hendry?
I think so. Joe Hendry is very popular among wrestling enthusiasts. And I tell you, if you're listening to this podcast now live, thank you so much. You are a wrestling enthusiast. You watch more than 1 hour of wrestling a week. But if I'm a casual viewer, if I happen to like NXT because of the colors or whatever, I don't know who Joe Hendry is. And you have a choice. Either say, here's some vignettes about who he is, or oh my gosh, it's him from TNA, or do this where you go, I don't know who this guy is, but I'm on board to see what he can do. It's basically re-establishing a hype for those who are inside the WWE bubble.
Okay. No, I mean, I just, this is why we're here for. I thought it was a lot of teases, like a lot. You thought it was a right amount, and cool. This is why,
Whoa! Now I feel like a jerk. I'm sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine.
No, I feel like I hurt your feelings, man.
No,
I'm sorry.
listen.
I'm sorry, George.
Here's something about myself. Now we're gonna get personal, right? I don't mind being wrong about something because guess what? That means I learned something.
You're not wrong.
So many people, yeah, I know, but I'm saying like so many people are so like, oh, but I'm always right, like because so many people get so like hurt. I would say something else. So many people get hurt because somebody disagree with them or somebody this. I'm like, no, like this is what we're here for. We're both adults. We know how.
Hey, the chat agrees with you. Look, Randy92729 and Ricky Sinclair be like, you know what? I agree with George. I believe in Hermoza.
I mean, I did think there was a chance there'd be someone else. Anyway, okay, I have another critique too. Check this out. I didn't like, and I get it's a production thing, that his entrance, or he was already at the top of the ramp or the start of the entranceway when his music hit. So it allowed the crowd to react to him before the music even hits. I don't know if you noticed that.
I do think it's a production thing. I don't think the CWC
it's part of his entrance, it's part of his entrance. I get it. But yeah, just he was already out there and I wanted everybody to kind of react at the same time, as opposed to some of the crowd that saw him already reacts, and then 3 seconds later the rest of the crowd reacts, and it kind of diminished that pop a little bit. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen everybody pop at the same time, and I know it's because he was already pretty much already there at the entrance when his music hit.
I'm with you. I think that's totally fine. But let's talk about the match, though. I mean, Trick Williams is keeping his tights super generic. I was like, oh, okay, that's very creative wrestler of the guy. But Ethan Page, the champ, gets run off by Oro Mensah again, and we believe in Joe Hendry getting the win over a very game Sean Spears. Thoughts about this?
And especially like they teased it. I mean, the match was great. I liked everything about the match. It really showcased Joe Hendry. I did want to kind of reiterate what I was saying earlier about a news report about Joe Hendry, about Fightful Select reported that they're planning to use Hendry in a significant way moving forward. Obviously, this report was done before tonight's NXT episode, but WWE officials are reported leaning into Hendry's propensity for going viral, much like the subtle debut of the Wyatt Six. The company apparently feels teasers of Hendry can be just as effective in generating online buzz. So kind of goes in what you were saying as well. But yeah, it looks like we're going to see a lot more of Joe Hendry. They very much so tease that he's possibly the next big title contender going up against Ethan Page. So it kind of throws in the wrench in the whole Trick Williams rematch. But also something to keep in mind, Joe Hendry is going to be in the championship match at TNA Slammiversary. So Absolutely. Maybe that might create something. Maybe he wins the TNA championship then. Maybe a big title versus title. Maybe a much like I don't know if it's rumored, but people have been talking. They want to see a Worlds Collide, NXT versus TNA. Maybe that's going to leading up to that. They just announced what was the pay-per-view they just announced? Oh, No Mercy, NXT No Mercy. That's going to be in September. Maybe that's going to be a Worlds Collide type event. How many TNA wrestlers are we going to see then? We're already going to see the Rascals wrestle as a trio for the first time in was it 4 or 5 years? But this time we're seeing it on WWE TV. Like, man, wrestling is so cool, man.
It totally is. It's a good time for all of us, man. And I agree. The match was great. The implications are great. Last question before we wrap this up. As far as NXT is concerned only, do you believe in Joe Hendry? Does he have a spot? Do you think he'll pop the masses? Do you think that's going to work? Or it's going to be a thing where, that worked in TNA, but didn't quite hit the same on Tuesday nights?
I think it's only a matter of time before we see him on the main roster.
Main roster, Joe Hendry.
I have thought very highly of Joe Hendry for a very long time. Going back to, he had a storyline with Katie Lee Burchill slash Winter, where she was going out with Grado. I don't know if anybody knows Grado, and Joe Hendry was like his buddy, and they were like teasing that like Joe Hendry was gonna like swoon in on Grado's girlfriend Winter, but it turns out like yeah, it turns out they were both Grado and Joe Hendry was good. And I always say like they cut that storyline so short. And I remember I was actually talking to Winter, and she totally agreed with me. But yeah, I mean, Joe Hendry's a stud. Like I love watching his videos of like some of the stuff that he did in like in Scotland and over in the UK, and then just but yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. I wish this was sooner. I wish this little thing that they're doing was sooner, because the pop that he would have got at Clash of the Castle would have been like groundbreaking.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Actually, this is kind of a dumpable fact. I was on a short film with Katie Lee Burchell, and it was a sitcom pilot about an ex-rocker that has his teenage daughter knock on his door and go, "Hey, look, I'm your daughter." And Winter played like the rocker's groupie. It's called Miles' Life. It's really weird. No, it's called Miles. It's called Miles. But yeah, fantastic person to work with, consummate professional. It was substandard set conditions, and she was a pro. Made it happen.
Yeah, she's can't say enough great things about her.
Let's get out of here, man. This is NXT for July 9th, 2024. George, what a deal. How can people find you, interact with you? If you got some haters, how do you
wave your hands from side to side? I believe in Joe. No one else. Tell me there are people watching us that are waving their hands from side to side. If you are, dude, you are the absolute best. Like, you're seriously the best. If anybody out there was waving their hands side to side, and let me know. Let me know if you were doing it. Let me know on the Twitter, GHERMOZA, on G Hermoza. You can follow my YouTube channel, The Wrestling Chatter. We got a lot of fun videos on there too. We're gonna see some more very, very soon.
Better. And as for me, every Wednesday, my broadcast colleague Jack Farmer and I combined like Voltron, hates when I say that, to break down NXT on a show we call Draped in Gold. If you like NXT recaps and reviews, this one's a little different every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your streaming things. But yeah, man, let's get out of here. We'll see you back here tomorrow on this channel for the AEW Dynamite After Show with George Hermoza and company holding it down. George Hermoza, the Iron Man of this thing, man. Let's get out of here.